Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Cooperative, a couple that loves to play board games.
Azul.
We do love Azul.
So this week what we're going to do is we're going to dive into
All four of them!
Azuls!
So we're going to take some time to talk about how they're different, what we like about them, maybe even talk about our ranking.
Well, we are going to talk about our ranking.
And we're going to dispute about it because I'm sure it might be different. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? We haven't. I think we've talked about it, but I think they've shifted over the last few weeks because we've been playing them so much.
Yes, we shall see.
So let's jump right into it. Azul, all of them are designed by Michael Kiesling and illustrated by Chris Quilliams. The original was also illustrated by Philippe Guerin. Now these games are published by Next Move Games and Plan B Games.
Exactly. And we put them in order. So Azul came out first, of course. And then it went Stained Glass of Sintra, Summer Pavilion, and Queen's Garden.
And it says 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021.
Wow, where has the time gone?
Time flies.
And conveniently, there's four of them, and I can explain to you what they are in 4 words. Abstract strategy, tile placement.
Drafting.
And it does have drafting in it. That's the other important element that we'll talk about.
So what these games overall are is a drafting game where you're taking tiles and placing them on your own board in hopes of scoring the most points. By having that placement be really strategic, thoughtful, and maybe clever.
Yeah, and they do the placements in a variety of different ways with each of the different games. And we'll kind of touch on them briefly, but just to emphasize, I guess, here is that they are very different. Even though that they are under the same name of game, they are very different, and we believe that there is a space for them on our shelf. All 4 of them, at least I do.
That's spoiler!
Oh, no it isn't.
Okay.
It's a good
It is
note.
Official. But in case it wasn't clear, these 4 are standalone games. So they're not expansions. Yeah. I think Tyler's made it pretty clear when he said they're all very different, but just wanted to make sure 100%. Yes. But let's kick it off with the difference between, what is the difference between all the 4 Azuls?
I guess
it's a tough question.
We should just understand what each of them are. So the base Azul is you're drafting tiles from the center of the board, everybody is, turn by turn, and you're trying to create this 5x5 grid, or build within this 5x5 grid. You don't have to fill it up, but you want to build within that grid, particular to the tiles that are already existing in that grid, and you want to try and score the most points, the best, and because the game will trigger when somebody finishes a horizontal line. And
the way that you get points is horizontal lines, vertical lines, containing all the same color or shape. Yeah. And you'll get points for placing tiles adjacent once you place them.
Yes, by making chains.
So once you make kind of lines and connectedness is good in the original as well.
Which is not so much how it goes in Stained Glass. So
Stained Glass does it a little bit differently, where they introduce different panels, which creates a little bit of variability game to game, but it also creates a little worker that you have.
Yes.
So as you collect tiles, you can move your worker and place tiles wherever that worker ends up, where you want to place the tiles. And the way that you get points here is by filling up the panel, because then one of the tiles will shift to the bottom, and based on how many surround one of the bases, I forget what they're specifically called, you'll get points for that. But you also get points for the points below where you place that tile, and all the ones to the right. Yeah. So you're basically trying to get a lot of points on the right, but then trying to get some on the left, and also kind of creating that little balance of a teeter-totter of points, which makes it really exciting.
Yeah, because this one ends up giving you negative points for different reasons than all the other 4 or all the other 3 do.
Negative track.
And yeah, there's like a negative track, but it's not like negative points are not like a significant thing in this game, in my opinion. So you don't have to worry about scoring below 0.
True. What about Summer Pavilion?
Yes. Summer Pavilion is, again, about that connectedness. A lot of, like all of them really, but you want to focus on colors here because you get these diamond shapes, and you can make these full-blown stars that are like 6 tiles total, and if you complete them with all of the same colors, then you'll get a lot of bonus points at the end of the game. The other cool thing that they've introduced in Summer Pavilion is because the way that they've arranged the board, there are these triangle gaps.
I think they're still
or diamonds.
Yeah,
No, they are
they're
diamonds.
still the
yeah,
same
they're
shape.
diamonds, yeah. There's these gaps within the board that if you fill out, you can take from the center of the board, or center of the player board. No.
Yeah.
Center board.
Center board.
Yeah. Which is like filled up with a bunch of random tiles from the bag previously drawn, and then you get to, take those tiles. Oh, the other thing that is specific to this is,
wilds. So this is the first game that introduces wilds that are in each of the rounds, and you can use various colors to help pay for some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you can also save tiles from before, and that makes it quite tricky because maybe you can compete for some of those wilds later on to score more points.
Yeah, because the way you place tiles is again by paying for them, and you have to be able to pay for them with the exact same tiles. And that's where it gets complicated, and that's where the wild tiles really come in handy.
It definitely makes it strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of strategy, I think this one brings it to the next level. Yeah. It's actually longer, 45 to 60 minutes, where all of these are 30 to 45. But what I think the three big differences in this one is, number one is the way that tiles are drafted. In all of these, you know all the tiles that are out for that round.
Yeah, it's full information.
Where here, you're only starting with like the tile that you actually place on the board, but it only has the 4. And then as you draft from it, more are revealed.
That's a little confusing because now you're saying tiles and tiles. It's like
board pieces and tiles on top. Yeah, correct. And then as you reveal, more gets revealed. And as you completely deplete all the tiles from the board piece, it flips and becomes its own piece as well.
Which you then can draft to place onto your board and open up your board a little bit more.
And you draft from pretty much all of them at once, which is, drafting is very different in this one.
Yes.
The other thing too is it's the first one that looks at colors and patterns. So it scores for both of them based on how you place them at the end of the game, which is really creates some very tricky
Makes it pretty hard
moments for sure.
Yeah.
And then it takes elements from this one with surrounding certain pieces, getting jokers as well, which are the wild kind of gray tiles.
And they've got the same thing where if you surround a certain space with tiles, like you'll get a certain amount of jokers which will act as wilds, and it's pretty great.
But I think this one has like the tile placement is pretty restricted but free at the same time.
Yes.
Where in all the other ones it tells you what you have to place, and here you have a little bit more creativity in the base version.
Yeah, you have a little bit more freedom with how you place them, but there's a lot of rules that you can't break.
And that's essentially
the difference is
Azuls. Okay, so I think you already answered this question, but is it worth to have all of them? Are they different enough to warrant to have them in your collection?
Yeah, I think they're different enough. I think it depends on what you're kind of looking for as a board gamer, but like if you're looking just for a simple abstract strategy tile placement game, like just the base Azul is fantastic. So you don't need all 4 of them. If you're, you can almost like level up with them in my mind. So if you start with the base Azul, you really liked it, give stained glass a try. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, go down to the other side over here, and I think you can find the one that's for you. But for me, I think time and place, I like all of them.
I agree. They also all have advanced modes, basically, that kind of turn the game a little bit, make it a bit more difficult, switch the scoring up. So there's a lot of games in all of them individually. But I think I agree with what you said, is like, I think there's times where I really want to play the base version. I think it just fits. And then there's times where I really want to play like all of them kind of for different pieces. I guess, who may enjoy some of these games, and which Azul is for who?
Generally speaking, abstract strategy lovers, you'll just like all of the Azuls. If you haven't played Azul, obviously I recommend starting with the base, and then you'll probably just like naturally find your way to the other 3. I don't know if I would differentiate them more than that, to be totally honest. Queen's Garden is a little bit more complicated than the other 3 in my opinion. So if you're looking for a more like heavier abstract strategy, then Queen's Garden. But that's really it.
I agree. I think I would recommend any of them. I would play any of them. I think you might get a little bit more once we start doing our rankings, because maybe we'll see like if there's little kind of tie-ins that can kind of flow into it.
Yeah.
But I think that's
generally speaking. Yeah.
So now, before we do our rankings, we thought we'd do a fun little most likely to or awards, superlatives, or basically just something to kind of go into it. So you know what? Let's jump into it.
All right, I don't have the categories. You're the one with this.
The first one is the best strategy. Ready? Put your finger up.
Oh, we're gonna point.
3.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
2, 1. Queen's Garden.
Yeah.
Just the strategy in it is just mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's also more of a brain crunch in my opinion, so that's why it wins for me.
Most edible pieces.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Nice.
They're just like those like little hard
like,
candies.
yeah, exactly.
They're like hard candies and they're so good.
Yeah,
they're not so good. I don't know. I haven't tried them.
Don't try them, please. But they do look like
just hard candies.
Starburst, hard Starburst?
Yeah.
No, Jolly Ranchers. That's
Jolly
what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how about best shapes of pieces? They're all slightly different. This one's a square, indented, the diamond, and then hexagons.
Does it count for like the symbols that are on them?
Maybe
too?
the symbols, not the colors. Because we have that.
All right. Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Something about the hexagons.
Hexagons is like the natural inkling to a board gamer.
Yeah, it just feels right.
Yeah. I like these because like, you don't see them as much, so it just makes it pretty unique, and they're larger, so like it just makes you feel good.
Fair.
What about the favorite use of color in the game?
Yeah, I know this one.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I don't like the colors.
I really like the colors in it. They're very inviting. They're very garden. But I can see there's similarities in some of them.
This just like I think really grabs the summer
fair.
like by the hand and says, "Hey, this is what it
summer."
is." Yeah.
Okay. What about the worst one to step on?
I
like,
know the
you know, like Legos, like you step on them and it's just the worst. Like which one's the worst? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Really?
I thought it'd be the little tip. It's so pointy that if by some incident that they're like somehow got maneuvered so they're facing up, they're like
I don't know. It's because they're elongated that I don't think that would ever happen.
Very often.
And then with these ones, because they're indented, you have more of like those sharp edges. I mean, don't leave them out to begin with.
No, I agree.
But I would not want to step on anything really. So.
No.
Poor base Azul, just didn't get any love with these superlatives.
The oldest one.
That's not even fair. the class clown.
Well, I don't know, maybe it'll do quite well.
The most successful.
True. The older successful sibling.
Yeah, exactly.
Successful sibling.
Yeah.
I said that right the first time. I don't know why I repeated it. So now we're going to do our rankings. And the way we're going to do them is we're going to go from 4 all the way to number 1, even though number 1 is going to be pretty obvious by that point.
Did you just point to your 4 and then point to your 1?
No, this is not my 4.
All right.
And maybe this is not my 1, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? But basically we'll tell you why they're our ranking and give you a little bit of insight into our brains.
Our burns.
Do you want to kick it off?
No, we should just do the point in 4 and then one of us will
start.
start.
That's a good idea. Okay,
Yeah,
number 4.
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, nice. All right.
Okay, kick it off.
Me? I don't know how to explain it actually, but I don't particularly like making the columns. It's like when you build those columns, like I feel like when you have to take those tiles, you end up like messing up and grabbing too many, so you get negative points. And I know that negative points is like, it's not like the end of the world in any of these games, but I don't like that to begin with. And then I just found that the end of game scoring sometimes felt more difficult to accomplish because the tiles were like, I know that they're random in all of them, but in this one, the randomness of the drawn tiles compared to what you needed to build was very much like restrictive because of the columns, and that's kind of why I don't. I think I like it, obviously. I think it's great, but this is my 4.
That's fair. Maybe you'll comment on this too, but I think before I do mine, I'll just say all of them are very close to me. Like, I think some of my rankings, like my 4 could be... No, it can't be number 1. It has not been number 1.
Oh.
I feel like my 4 and 3 are like like here, and my 1 and 2 are like here. But they're all here in the grand scheme of...
Yeah, I feel like my 4 is like here, and then like 3 is here, and then the 2 and 1 can switch back and forth.
Fair. So
I don't know if you can see that on the camera.
The reason I chose Summer Pavilion, part of it is the vibes. Like, I feel like every time I've played it, I just don't enjoy it as much as the other three.
Fair.
It's still good. I still like it. But I think it's the fact that you have to kind of like, there's no, what I really like about the base Azul and some of the other ones is you can place the tiles in a specific spot and then move them from that spot, like to pay them into the other spot.
It feels like more structured.
And here, like, you just have like...
you do that in stained glass too.
Yeah, you do that in stained glass too. But this one is the one that you don't do it in. Because you just kind of have the tiles to the side and then you try to like...
No, I mean... Oh, because you place them immediately.
Yeah, you place them. So like, here they're just kind of to the side. Then you put them in. And then like, I think a lot of the times there's a... And this is hard because I think this doesn't really work for me in this game. It works in some of the other games. But like, even going for some of the high, like trying to get the 6 and filling the star, it becomes like stressful at that point. Because you need so much and sometimes one person can take it away. But overall, like, it just hasn't given me the feels that I want.
Right. Okay.
Like some of the other ones have.
Yep. Yep.
And that's my 4. Yeah. Ready for a 3?
Yes. Wah.
1, 2, 3.
Nice.
Trade.
Swapsies. All right, you go first.
So, I actually really like... I feel like a lot of people hate on Stained Glass of Sintra, from what I've seen, but I really like this game. The first time I played this game, I'm like, this could be my new favorite Azul.
Yeah,
and
it's 3.
They're all close. But what I really like about it is I think even the fact of like, I love the way the points are captured. Like, it feels so good when you get the points on the left and you have all the other ones.
There's like those combos.
Like
yeah, that feels good.
Combos to me in games just make me so happy. And this game is prime. Because you can all go to the right off the bat, try to fill a row, and then you always get those points. Although they're less, if you get them more, it just pays off more. Yep. So there's a lot of different strategies you can take. There's a way that you can even kind of pass back to almost like skip your turn. So other players can take a tile and kind of manipulate the top drafting a little bit more for you. There's just a lot of joy that this one brought me good vibes. Where this one brought me mediocre vibes.
Mediocre vibes, comparatively.
What about you?
I just think Summer Pavilion is like, I like the wild tile. I think that I think my one critique would be exactly what you said, is if I felt like there was like a board almost, like kind of what Queen's Garden does, where you can like store your tiles. Yeah, and then you can try and pay for them. I think that would have been really, really nice and probably would have elevated the game a bit more. But I don't mind having them to the side because it's really just color coordinating, trying to place them. I think it's actually, I like the stress of trying to have to get all 6 of those tiles, so I don't always go for them because the way that the points work in this game is you do get a lot of points for filling up that track, but you also get a lot of points for filling up every single space that has a 1 on it, has a 2 on it, has a 3 on it, and then there's a lot of different scoring opportunities, and I just felt like I also liked being able to hold on to tiles. So I think that was very clever, and being able to use them later on, because you can, I don't know, draft like one color and then use all of those colors later on as just a wild.
Yeah. Well, now about number 2.
Number 2. I'm still a little unsure about this.
Me too.
But I think I know what I'm going with.
It's a tie.
It's not a tie. There's no ties. No ties. I am the only tie on this show.
This is so hard.
I know what mine is.
Okay, I think see, mine's been switching literally almost every day since we planned to do this.
Let's pick 2. Let's pick 2.
3, 2, 1. Ooh. See, okay, I'll start. This one was so close to being my number 1. And even today, because like I even said today that, you know what, I think it's my number 1. But then the more that I sat, the more I looked at these games, I think it's still number 2. What it does is just, it does this whole game incredibly well. It elevates it, makes it much more complex. But I think the slight thing that brings it a tiny bit down for me is that sometimes it just does not feel great when you don't get what you need. Because sometimes there's combos and the ways that you can create to get a lot of points. Yeah. And sometimes you can set your up for a lot of success. But if someone takes, because there's 3 of each tiles in there, if you somehow don't get one of those 3 for one of the things that you're building, it just does not feel great.
Yeah, and you're not going to see all of the tiles
No,
either.
you're not. So, but I really like the way the drafting is done. I actually prefer it to any of the other ones because it kind of keeps the mystery coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I love that aspect of it. I love the dual color versus symbols because I think it creates a lot of ways that you can pivot and switch strategies, the flexibility in placing the tiles, the way you surround it, get wild tiles. There's just so much to love about this game. It's also, I think, my favorite aesthetically looking one. So yeah, I really, 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 really like Queen's Garden.
I have, and the first thing that I'll say is like my biggest critique about this game is the colors.
They're too similar?
I think they're way too similar.
That's fair.
Like there's a dark purple and a light purple
And a dark
green and a light green.
And then a blue and a yellow.
And then a blue and yellow. The blue and yellow, they're great, sure. But like if you take any of those greens and purples and put them together, I don't know. Sometimes they're hard to differentiate. And like I'm not colorblind or anything like that. So like I don't know if they fit those or anything. So that it loses its vibe for me because of that. But I also think exactly to what Ilya was saying is it's really, really, it feels really bad when you can't complete like the 6 tiles or the 6 symbols and the 6 colors because like you just can't find them. And because there's that uncertainty of whether or not the tile's actually going to come up because of the random drafting or the way that they've set up drafting, I'm not trying to like say that the drafting should be different because I also really like how the drafting is done, but because of that, it impacts your ability to be able to plan ahead for those types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why it loses its flavor compared to obviously
it lost
our
its
number
flavor.
one.
Number one.
Yeah, which is this one.
Azul.
And I just think like what they did in this base.
Are we going to number one now?
Yeah, I think this
Are
is
we
a great
shifting?
segue.
Okay.
Is I think what they did in the base game with the drafting, the placement, the connections, like all of the things you have to do in this game, they've gone ahead and picked on each of these games and redeveloped certain aspects. And I'm really appreciative of all the other 3, but the base Azul just does it so well that like I'm happy they went ahead and made 3 more, but they didn't have to. I guess is like what I would say. And
I really like.
I'm happy they made them, but like they didn't have to.
That's true.
And I am more than content with base Azul. I love it. I think it's very, very fast. I'm terrible at it. I know that. Like I'm way better at these 2 particularly. But I'm not the greatest at this one. But I still love it.
I love the base Azul primarily because of the simplicity of it. It's so easy to introduce to people.
That's
We've
true.
showed it to
That
my
is very
family, my
true.
sister, my mom picked it up instantly and loved it, and still continue to play it.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah, we bought it for them.
Yeah, we did. And then there's just so much, like, I think the replayability of it, and again, I just love games that I can replay instantly, and then like not
That's
lose
true.
any of the heart of it. Like some of the heavier, even strategy games, like there's some that I want to play again and again. And Azul is one I'll never turn down a game. It just withstands that test of time. It does such an elegant job of the way that mechanics are played. The games can look very differently depending on who you're playing with because the end game trigger is actually not rounds, where all the other ones are actually rounds.
True. Good
So
point. Yeah.
I think the variable, like you can make the game last a little bit longer, make it more exciting, make it a higher scoring game. But overall, it's the creme de la creme.
Yeah, I just think they did it really well.
Woohoo!
I wasn't sure what you were going to say.
I almost flip flopped.
Yeah, because
flip-flopped.
I remember you made a comment about it. I was like, oh, I wonder.
Yeah. So that's our Azul experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Azul.
Azul, and Azul.
So have you played any? I guess our question for the day is: have you played any of the Azuls?
Yeah, and if you've played all 4 of them, which one's your favorite?
We want to see those rankings,
yeah.
especially if they're the same as ours, because then you get a gold star.
There's no gold star to be given here. It's your opinion. I want to know them, and I want to know why.
If everyone comes for my beautiful stay glass of Citra, I'm gonna come for you in the comments below.
Call me.
Why would they call? You don't like this one?
This was my 4.
Yeah, but you can still. You
I liked,
it.
like I said, I like all of them, but this one was my 4. So like.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate, we do really, really like all of them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with any of them, and like I would recommend every single one if you
Exactly.
were interested in an abstract strategy game. Like this is my go-to recommendation. Well, Base Azul is my go-to recommendation for any abstract strategy.
And if you like other abstract strategy games, you should check out
other abstract strategy
Oh,
games.
I thought you were gonna rapid fire some abstract strategy.
I was
games.
gonna say Vivid Memories
Sagrada
is my other one. Vivid Memories, 100%.
Okay, that's not rapid fire. You just
Fine.
went on.
Vivid Memories,
Sagrada.
What's the other one?
Calico, maybe?
Calico, Cascadia.
Cascadia.
Oh my
Although
gosh,
that one's a
there's
bit
so
more less
many.
abstract.
I don't really know. I think this is my go-to. Like, this is the first one that comes to mind.
Azul love in this family, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for watching. You know what to do?
Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. We make content every week, so if you want to see more of what we've got coming along, click that subscribe button and that bell notification, because we love sharing board game content with you folks.
And maybe next time you'll see me, I'll have a haircut.
Me too. Probably not.